Okay. Hello, everyone. Konnichiwa. I'm Andrzej Kinastowski. I'm one of the founders of Office Samurai. Welcome to the webinar that we do today together with KYP. Office Samurai and KYP, we have been working together for quite some time. We do really interesting things together. And so today we wanted to talk to you about communication. And we do not mean communication like how do I talk to my teenage kid. That is out of scope for today. It's not even the kind of communication about how do I ask my boss for a raise. We are talking about big scale, high volume kind of communication that we all have in our enterprises. And the bigger company, the more communication we have inside it. And the communication we're going to be focusing on today is written kind of communication, emails, tickets, where people in free text ask us to do something. So it may be in finance, it may be in HR, it may be in customer service. A lot of companies still have a lot of this kind of communication in their processes. And traditionally, this is the kind of a process where we would not be able to do process automation, because this kind of communication, it's very easy for a human to understand, but it's extremely hard for a computer. So for a computer to understand a written email, it requires really, really powerful technologies, because the same thing can be written in a million different ways. And people not only use different ways of describing what they want, but they use different phrases, different terminology. So traditionally, this kind of a process would be out of scope of process automation. And we would say, unless you find a way to structure the data coming in, it would not be possible to automate this. So we're gonna look at this communication from two different perspectives. The first part, we will have Wojciech Matłosz, Customer Success Manager at KYP, who will be showing you how, using KYP software, we can not only find where this kind of communication is being processed, but also, and this has always been a hard part, how we can quantify how much of it do we do, how much time does it take us. This is the kind of a thing that I've been doing a lot of lean management projects in my time, and quantifying those things has always been a huge problem. And then we're going to have Tomasz Wierzbicki, one of our automation consultants here at Office Samurai, talking about, once we find the information on where this communication is, how can we work with it? How can we use tools that we have at our disposal nowadays to get over this hump of that stops us from understanding, that stops computers from understanding this kind of communication, and how can we use those tools to understand this communication, and this way to structure the data flowing in, because once the data is structured, it's easy to automate with anything that we would like. So Tomasz will be talking about communication mining from UiPath. It's a part of UiPath platform, but if you're not a UiPath customer, you can still use it as a standalone product. Before I hand over to Wojciech, one thing, we have a Q&A turned on for the webinar. So during the webinar, please feel free to ask your questions or write comments in the Q&A section, and we will try to find as much time as possible to answer them. Whatever we will not have whatever questions that we will not have the time to answer, we will send you answers after the webinar. So again, thank you all for joining, and Wojciech, over to you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Andrzej. So since you have been lean guy, you know exactly how important it is to have the data. I will now share my materials with you. Okie doke. Yeah, so what we are going to touch today is as Andrzej said, we need some clarity, right? When we want to improve our processes without numbers, without clarity and precision, we are just trying, right? And sometimes it will be successful more, sometimes less. But again, we need clarity. We need the data to really build something solid. And I will show you how in KYP we tackle that, how we spot the opportunities, how we quantify the value, and in the end, give you all the necessary data that you need in order to create your business case for automation, for communications mining. And now, before we jump there, I just wanted to share this story with you because my wife, she is a senior accountant in production company, and very often something that she tells me is, you know, Wojtek, I really like my job, but all those Teams pings and all those emails are getting me crazy. And I can actually understand that because when she's super focused on something like Excel files, she's crunching the data, then suddenly she gets the Teams ping asking, hey, can you please, if my payment has been scheduled? Or, hey, can you check if the vendor has received the data? Or maybe you can just send me the vendor number. And it feels like nothing really huge, right? But if you receive it 20, 30, 50 times, then you are just not focused. And actually you are losing time because you're not touching the business outcomes that you were supposed to work on. And just some numbers behind it. There was some research done, which concluded in saying that 20% of our time, our team's time, is actually spent on finding information, and that's finding information for us, but also for other people. And if you think about it, it's like 1 day per week. 1 day per week we are losing just to find information. There has to be smarter way to do it. And there is some cost behind it. There is a cost of lost time, and there is a cost of handling all of those pings and emails. And you can calculate that on your own, just knowing that it's something around this 20%. Now, if we imagine that this time that is lost, right, it's spent on something that is not really building value, if that time could be spent for something more meaningful, right, like process innovation, like problem solving, or just driving our business outcomes that are important strategically, we are talking about huge game change, right? It's somehow something that is a waste becomes a productivity potential, because we can build the productivity there. And that's what communications mining is doing, and KYP AI is jumping in and is able to tell you, hey, this is exactly where your waste is. This process, this area, this operator, they spend a lot of time on that, and that's to calculate the waste and show you where it's really located, because these two informations tell you exactly how to tackle the issue. And now, the question that we are being asked very often is, yeah, it all looks fine, but where do I start really? Like, where should I focus? Where should I apply my change, my automation, my communications mining, to make sure that this is exactly the place which will bring me the business case, which will bring me the ROI. And if we add to this that according to another report, it is estimated that nearly half of software licenses are actually not used. There is some cost, there is some potential that we can tackle. And this challenge in KYP we tackle in 3 easy steps. First one is about gaining the visibility. So we are showing you how your current process looks like, how the activities flow. And then we jump to the next one, which is identifying the value behind it. And this is where the data comes in. We show you your process, your activities, which are quantifiable, and you get the data in order to build your ROI, to quantify your metrics, and also to prioritize your implementation program. And then the third pillar is about making sure that your investment is used effectively, making sure that there is the continuous process, that there is the continuous improvement, and the process flows as it was designed. All of that is this kind of strategical approach that is guiding us in the direction where every license counts, right? You are not just guessing that, hey, I need to apply this and there, because communications is something that is really hard to be quantified. You know, it's a little bit fuzzy. We don't know how to measure it. So you are transferring from that standpoint to the standpoint where you can precisely say that, hey, I need this, I need that, and this is exactly where I need it. And you have numbers which can confirm your thesis, right? You're not just guessing, but this is all based on the real data. And then I would like to spend just a couple of minutes on every stage. So all of those 3 stages, starting from the first one, it's about seeing and understanding the process as it really flows. In KYP, what we do, we collect the data, which is based on your activities, on your daily routine, right? You are using your applications, you are proceeding with the process, and there is data being generated. This data allows us to create insights, actionable insights that are giving us very quick information on where the process has some gaps, where we see some bottlenecks, and where we see potential for automation. And when building these outcomes, we actually tie 3 pillars of your organization, meaning people, process, and technology. So it all together, it's not just really understanding how process looks like, but it really gives you all necessary perspectives to transforming your process. You can transform your process with communications mining to become a process value machine. You can just create your value and not lose time for things that do not really build the value. That's the first one. The second one is about assessing the value and how we tackle this. So basically, we are looking for patterns. We are looking for activities which are your communication steps, right? So we are, for example, we are looking for activities which are linked with your email application, with your chat application, with your ticketing application, and we are just registering time, where the time spent behind these applications, behind these steps, and then we zoom in to find time behind your operational text handling. So whenever someone is copy pasting information, whenever you are typing some text, and especially when you copy information from, let's say, Outlook, and you paste it to your production software, it's a good opportunity. It's showing that there is a potential for communications mining, especially for the automation part. And the third step, of course, with all the data, you can create your metrics, and one of the metrics is, of course, ROI, and you get the confidence that your business case is real, right? It's not just a feeling, it's not something that you can just imagine, but this is calculated based on real-time data. Based on real data, you didn't have to really add anything out of your mind, because it's everything is there. Of course, applying the business business context is something that we as human beings, we always need to add. And then we get to the third step, which is the result of the previous one. And we are really making all of those words that come into our process, we make them work for us, right? So they are not just waste, but suddenly they are becoming the drivers of productive time, right? We are not just spending time there, and we are saving time, which we can then apply and reinvest to the activities which bring value. So not just to spend it, but build something meaningful. And when you see that, you can start thinking about scaling. You can scale this initiative, this communication mining initiative, to another team, to another process, another department, while making your ROI multiplied, right? And in the end, you sit down like those guys there, and you watch how the value is being built. You see how the time which you were spending before is just decreasing because things got automated. And of course, there is data behind it. And again, you can calculate precisely the impact on your productivity. So in essence, really, this is really to make these words work for you and not be your morning nightmare. All right. We have seen what communications mining is. We have seen that with KYP AI, you can create data which will support your business case. You can use the data to calculate your ROI. Now I will take you real quick to KYP to show you how it looks in the tool. Just hold on a second. All right. There we go. So this is KYP instance, which is based on demo data. In this instance, we have organization which we call APAC BPO. This organization has two teams. There are some agents within the teams, and this team is executing a couple of processes. You see there is invoice processing, annual reporting, cash application, and so on. And let's see how the process looks like. We will start with the panel, which is called improvement classifier. And the improvement classifier is a panel, let me just hide it, is a panel which is showing us the process, the activity sequence that has been discovered, right, based on the data from your daily activities. And here we see everything. I will just narrow it down to those variants which include our communications mining potential. Let's do it like this. Maybe 3 variants. All right. And now we see that within all of those flows, all of these process variants, we see that there is an activity which we call review query email, which has some potential for communications mining. I hope you can see it. That's the one. This one is labeled as the one with communications mining potential. What we also see is that there is a pair of activities as well. We call it a tandem. There is a tandem whenever you copy information from Outlook, because, for example, someone is asking you for the vendor number, and you paste it, this time in Excel, but that can be SAP, that can be any ERP, or whichever productive application you are using. That can be also something that can be automated with communications mining. You can define some patterns in KYP which are guiding you to spotting those patterns. Like, for example, when you copy from those activities, you paste to the others. You want those activities to be marked as communications mining potential. Now, this is the first step. So as you remember, those three pillars, that's the first one. This is where we see how the process really looks like. And you can see it in this graph view. You can also review it in tabular form, since some of us are more happy to see the tabular form, and you see everything there. But you can also limit the data which you see, just to see the potential for communications mining, those activities which fulfill the criteria to be the communications mining potential. And we see them now on the screen. So those can be pairs of activities. Whenever you copy paste, for example, you copy from one page to the other, and that also can be single process steps. We will apply communications mining analytics filter, and you see these activities which fulfill the filter for analytics. For example, whenever there is a query email or some tickets and you want to review them to make sure that you grab any kind of risks that you can read from the emails or tickets, or you just want to check the quality of your service. These are these activities which have this information, and you can label them as your communications mining potential. As the improvement classifier, that's going to be the first one. The second pillar from those three, second pillar is linked with another panel where we can see the potential which has been labeled, and we can see some summaries. Let's do it like this. And you see that for invoice processing, for example, the communications mining potential is calculated here. All the data which was calculated whenever we were working on the process is behind it, right? So the durations, the amount of resources, and so on, it's all behind it. So you can see the total potential in time. It's also recalculated in the form of full-time equivalents, and you can also see some numbers there showing the savings potential, depending, of course, on your costs that you have behind your resources. You can calculate that automatically within KYP based on your configuration. So all the data is there. You can also jump to the details to see what kind of process activities flow there is behind it. You have all the summaries there. So again, it is based on this time frame, this amount of FTEs, this amount of time that can be saved. You can also review how many people were executing a given task. Those are just demo data, so you don't see anything except for the agent number. But these are these agents which were executing this activity, and we see that there were 8 of them. And in total, they did some copy pasting, that they did some text entries, and there was some time behind it. So you have all the details behind this calculation that you can jump into and review. The same, for example, for annual reporting. There is also communications mining potential calculated with all the necessary numbers that are there to feed your business case. Okay. All right. And as you remember, there was a third pillar, the sustainability pillar. I will show it to you based on the productivity overview panel. Productivity overview panel is showing us our productive time, is also showing us the calculated improvement potential, both for annual reporting or invoice processing. We can also hide the productivity because we want to focus on improvement only. And since we have a lot of different improvement candidates there, let's focus on communications mining because this is our focus for the call. And if we apply it, we see the values in time trend, which is showing us, hey, this is the potential that you can get. This is the amount of time that can be improved if you apply communications mining. And if we, for example, if we assume that on the 14th of February, we have applied the communications mining solution that Tomek will present in a minute. You will see since there that your improvement area is going lower and lower because this time is not now executed manually, because this time is now automated, and you can start thinking about another area for the for your improvement. I hope this was all interesting. If I know that it's not, you probably have a lot of questions, and if there are any in the Q&A before jumping to Tomasz, maybe we can pick one or two.
Sure. Thank you, Wojtek. We do have some questions. One thing that I guess is on everybody's mind, and this is one of the first things that I asked when I learned about your tool is, first, do I have to install the software? And then a follow-up question, how much time usually does it take to get all the internal approvals to start the project from your current experience?
Yeah, so the first one was about installation, right? So for KYP to work, we need a KYP server. This is something that KYP can provide on KYP Cloud. And to get the data, we need to install KYP client on these computers, which will be feeding with the data. And these clients are registering those activities and sending them to the server in order to have them recalculated and presented to us in a way that we have seen. And the second question was, sorry?
How much time does it take to get all
Yeah.
the internal approvals?
I would draw a normal curve, right? So there are some cases where you can go through it very quickly, but there are some corner cases where it can take much longer. I suppose the median might be somewhere in a couple of months. I don't want to shoot really the exact number because then someone will tell me, hey, you promised something. Probably a few months. If the organization is bigger, that might be more. If the organization is smaller, that can be less.
Yeah, that's also our experience, that it heavily depends on how your internal ITsec procedures are and data security and so on. One thing that we have found helps a lot is that there are options to, one thing is to anonymize the data so that the people seeing the data do not know who is this particular agent who has this kind of data. So that is one thing that helps with the discussions, and also you can aggregate it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. But this is a very good question, and I think it pops up a lot. Let's do another one, and then the rest we can do at the end. What other use cases, despite communication mining, does KYP have?
I think I can show a list to you. Just hold on a second. I will show it to you in the tool. And it's not really a closed list. All right, in the backend of KYP, we have a list of different use cases that we can create in terms of finding the potential, and this is one of the lists. And you can see there are cases for RPA. Well, this is listing improvement types that we are interested in finding in our data set, right? So that can be RPA, intelligent document processing, Gen AI, right? So if you are, for example, planning to go into Copilot and you don't know where to start, you can use our MS Copilot patterns as well, so that, again, it will show you what is the best scope for your project. We also have some lean-related patterns. For example, if your team is spending a lot of time on, let's say, time tracking because they have to fill out some Excel files, and that's pure waste. It's not really building value. Then you can also have it within your eliminate improvement pattern. Tools integration is a very interesting one. Whenever you have situations that you move the data between two different software, and this software can be integrated, we can show you those patterns within your data. Something about sub-business AI, again, this is showing you the potential, and one is left on our list, and that might be the one which you guys have in your head, and we still haven't registered that on that list. That list is not closed, right? It's just just a list behind our sandbox environment. For our customers, these patterns are sometimes very different because they depend on their internal situation, the situation with their software, the amount of applications, and also the strategical direction they want to go. But I hope it answers the question that the list of possible use cases is really long.
Yeah, and I know I said this was going to be the last one, but actually we have one that is like a very close follow-up to what you just talked about. How the type of improvement in improvement classifier is marked. So is it automatic or is it someone's decision?
It's actually both, right? So you can do it on your own because you want to have control over everything that is being classified, or you can do it automatically. What you need to do, again, sorry, I will jump. I like to show it. What you need to do is to create this pattern first, right? So for example, for communications mining, we have two patterns there. One is about analytics that you can do with communications mining. The other is about automation. That's something that Tomek will touch. And for example, if we get the automation one, transactional request, so someone is asking my wife, hey, can you check if the payment for this customer, for this vendor has been done? This is my pattern, right? So I say that, hey, whenever the user is using those applications as a source and the user is copying information from that source, and they paste information in my productivity applications, I want this pattern to be classified as communication mining, and then I can manually classify it, or I can say to KYP, hey, please automatically classify everything that fits to this pattern.
Makes sense. Thank you very much. We will answer the rest of the questions at the end of the webinar. So again, thanks, Wojtek, and Tomek, over to you.
Okay, vision and sound, all right?
Check.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so my wife is not in accounting, so but I'll try to build on top of what Wojciech said. So generally speaking, fast forward to a point in time that you have KYP implemented and you know what's your plan of attack because you got those segments, those communications channels, the opportunities identified, and now let's talk how we do something about it. So generally speaking, as you can expect, since this is human-to-human communication, then we have unstructured data. So generally speaking, this will be an area of natural language processing in general. And you could be tackling this in many different ways nowadays. So of course, you could be shuttling all the stuff into ChatGPT API and stuff like that. So even encourage you to explore all other options for that. But today we're just going to focus on communications mining by UiPath in particular. So as you can expect, this thing will also involve some kind of artificial intelligence and machine learning in the background. But the general point is that if somebody wanted to see the code today, then sorry, we're not going to be browsing code. Unless you strictly insist on it, then I got some code ready in the background. But generally, this is a strength of this platform that until a certain point when you actually want to build an application, then you're not touching a code whatsoever. So how would you go about building such a thing for yourselves? So Wojciech mentioned two communication channels. So one could be an email. So I got my Outlook open right here. And here I got like two fake emails, of course, generated with ChatGPT. So I'll just move this one to my input folder just to see that we can later test if my integration with my Exchange web server worked. So that's going to be one method of feeding the model. And the second I got here ready in case we get some time to actually run the code and see this going into the platform. But generally, this is like a fake email that somebody contacts us, like Rosabelle, Betty4, whomever that can be, and they're asking us, as Wojciech mentioned, to do something about it. Here, it's like a fake scenario where they want to book an invoice. And as you can expect, of course, since it's human-to-human communication, then we have it like written in an like normal human communication kind of a way language. But we have to generally we want to do two things about it. So first, we want the tool to be able to tell us that this is actually an email about, booking an invoice. And you can argue that, we have like a keyword invoice here and INV here with some number. So yes, probably some of the cases you could be handling with some kind of a keyword or regular expressions kind of situations. But in large scale applications, if you open your own Outlooks, then I bet that you cannot expect that every single email will have like a meaningful title. So that's going to be one thing to tackle. So it's going to be classification. And the second thing that we want to usually do is called named entity recognition. You might have heard about it. So generally, oftentimes we care about particular parts of that message that the person's sending us. So here we probably want to grab that total amount. We probably want to know that it's Prime Tech Services that expecting a payment from us and when they expect the payment from. No, sorry, you. So when they expect us to pay, and probably we're gonna be grabbing that invoice number. So any different scenarios, so named entity recognition, that's the point. So first thing that you want to do with such implementation of communications mining from UiPath. So first thing's gonna be feeding that machine learning model with the messages. So there are couple of different scenarios. One hopefully will work today when I have that input folder integrated in the background. So hopefully we will see this message. And by the way, this message is in Danish. I think I chose Danish well translation just to prove the point that it's not language dependent. So we can just be training on particular categories and ideas, and the languages don't matter as long as these ideas are expressed in a similar semantic way. So that's going to be one method. There are a couple of more. You, of course, have an API. You have like a CSV file upload. You got UiPath Studio Activity. So there are like 5 or 6 different methods of how you could go ahead and supply the platform with your training examples. So that being said, let us move to the platform itself. So again, this is like a low code, no code solution. So the interface is really pleasant, and you can literally place your subject matter experts, business users in here and ask them to do the job. So they're not going to be scared that all of the sudden you require them to train a model in Python, for example. So really friendly user interface. And now I will quickly move to single message, how it's displayed, so we can build on top of that idea. So here is a view where we see a single message. So that's like similar to what we've seen in Outlook, right? So I've got like my message box. This is the thing that I care about. So that's the body of the message. I've got all the other recipients. So looks pretty familiar. So the two things that are going on here and what such a business user would go about and do is those two challenges that we trying to solve. So one would be that named entity recognition, and the second one would be classification. So the way the training works is that I just got a bunch of labels in here, and I could be adding them even manually, and I can predefine those. So these are my concepts or ideas that I want to be looking for in my whole mailbox data set. And actually, it doesn't need to be necessarily a mailbox. It could be any sort of communication that you are able to grab as a text form. So it could be any ticketing systems, it could be reviews, what else? Yeah, like some even Slack or Teams channels when people are communicating. So basically any source that you can grab a piece of text could be put into here and be analyzed. So the challenge for the the job, actually not the challenge for such a business user, would be to go ahead and while reading this message, I would be assigning a particular label to a given message, and I can go ahead and keep adding those labels. And generally speaking, that's one part of the training. It's that easy that I just need to read a message and then out of predefined labels or being typed in as we go, because I can do that as well. I just go ahead and train my data set based on that. And based on my input, the model already started to be learning. As you can see, there's a training model of another version because I supplied it with some input. The second thing, the named entity recognition. As you can see, I already have like some values here marked. So we got that vendor, which is office supplies, and the amount and the date of the due date. So this is also very easy and pleasant. So there's a separate button that's called annotate fields. And here, of course, I got it ready. But the way it works is that you could be predicting, and I will show it to you on a fresh message, but then you would be just pressing a button and asking the model to predict those values that you previously defined. So similarly, I could be defining them on the fly, or already I know my business case that I want vendor name and payment due date, total amount, or any other named entity that you want to find in such messages. And what's neat, these are linked to my invoice new category. So once the category has been recognized, then I can go ahead and keep marking or asking the model to predict those values for me. Again, very simple. I'll just delete one and mark it again so that you can see me doing it on live. So, hey, this is selected, and then I go ahead and confirm it. So basically speaking, training a model just involves you doing a simple training for your subject matter experts or business users, however, whoever you're gonna involve in the project, and then asking them to be performing a given, spend a given amount of time training the model. And oftentimes the question is, how long do we need to train? Well, that's a good question that gets asked multiple times, and there's no like one answer for it. So the way this platform works is that maybe I'll change the data set to one that is more populated. The way that the platform works is that it gives us feedback. Like it gives us like live feedback of what's going on. So we got whole bunch of different parameters from like a general model health rating or however you're gonna call it from 0 to 100. So like an overall score, and if you really want to go down deep the rabbit hole, then you can actually get values for every single category or every single entity that you want to recognize. But the general point is not to get too detailed with all this stuff that's going on because we need some time to like talk about like automating scenario. But long story short, it gives you feedback of what's going on with it, and it is suggesting me places where I should focus my attention. So I get recommendations that, for example, I should correct inconsistencies for my label that is called order amendments, delivery date change. And there are 38 training examples for me to actually click and go through like this short exercise of 38 messages. And me doing this should improve the overall model performance because I addressed this particular action of training the model. So generally, you don't need to be, of course, it would be good to have like some kind of business analyst in the background overseeing the whole training process, but generally speaking, no code whatsoever, just reading, choosing the values, choosing the labels, marking a couple of different things, those entities in the message. And then the second question would be like, how do we know that we are okay with the results? So here again, we get a bunch of metrics. but it's going to be different from classical automation. So because with classical automation, you usually have just like a binary result. Something either works and you just don't touch it. Automation is just usually working in an unattended style in the background, or something breaks and you actually need to fix it. And here, because we're dealing with a probabilistic model, so it's not 0, 1, we get a certain threshold of probability whether something is or isn't. And this is something that you need to sleep on and analyze what is good for your particular case, because there are no simple answers to that. I don't want to get too technicals about unless somebody asks that question, or you can contact me after the webinar. But generally for each levels, you get a bunch of metrics that later on helps you to decide what do you care about, whether it's going to be covering like a whole lot of volume, or you're gonna be just very precise not to make mistakes. So these are kind of a technical terms when it comes to machine learning, but generally speaking, it's what I want, the point I want to get through is that this is not your classical automation, that you just build a rigid algorithm and you try to foresee all type of exceptions and you're fine. Here you will need to accept a certain level of uncertainty about this data. And it's gonna be a spectrum. Okay, so now let's fast forward to a point where we actually have a model trained. We are satisfied with a score. So how would we go about automating such a thing? So since we supplied messages into the model, then they are here. And what is neat, each message that we put in here will come out having those predictions ready. So for example, here I got my another email. Here it's something about regarding order confirmation, yada yada. And then I have a model prediction. Here it's actually the confidence is very low, but it doesn't really matter. It could be any number just for the showcase. But generally speaking, I get this confidence, and this is already a model prediction because the sorry, the annotations by the users, they are marked with this shield type of icon. So I know that this has been marked by the user, but this one is a model prediction. So the usual scenario would be that on the output, I got the messages that I put in here, but then they have addition of classification from the model. So the model will try to predict, hey, I think this is order cancellation email, and I'm 12% sure that this is order cancellation. Let's maybe find something that has more confidence just to make like a better business case out of it. Okay, I cannot find some. Okay, 65 said not bad. So this email says that this is order information request, delivery status with confidence of 65%. So later on the output, what we could do is actually grab this message from the platform and check that confidence score. And if this is satisfactory for us to run any kind of automation after that with this confidence, then we could be actually, since this is asking of deliver status, then we could be probably just grabbing those named entities. Unfortunately, here we don't have any, but if we were grabbing this PO number, then deciding on that confidence of 65, if that is satisfactory, then we could go to our ERP system of some kind and actually try to grab this PO number and check that delivery status of this particular order, and then even generate an automatic reply to whomever was contacting us. In this case, it was, I don't know, John Doe. Okay, great. So we would be just replying to John Doe about delivery status of this PO, of this particular order. So this is exactly the scenario that Wojciech told you about, of his wife being irritated by this, people constantly asking you questions about simple stuff and even writing like long emails for you that you need to read. And here, if we are okay with how we trained the model, probably the 65 is pretty low, but if we could get it to like 85, then we are pretty confident that we're not making a mistake just by querying system. No harm done, even if we reply to the user once in a while with some wrong answer, then maybe the world will not end. But generally, you get the ideas for the scenario with automating any kind of messages. And as you can see, this taxonomy, these labels, they can match any any area of your company. So here today we're dealing with invoicing and finance, but this could be anything from HR to marketing to any customer service kind of a scenario. And since we are on customer service, then what is often happening with customer service is that we also sometimes want to be measuring how okay or not okay our customers are feeling. So what this platform offers, I'll switch this data set again, showcase two, is two things. So we can be analyzing sentiment or tone of the message. These two are not the same. So with the tone, we don't have any influence over how the algorithm measures the tone of a given message. And with sentiment, we get to train the model which messages for us are positive or negative when it comes to their sentiment. Then there's another factor which is called quality of service. And here we actually have a full control because for each of the categories that I have, I could be saying that, for example, messages of invoice, they have like a negative impact for me for some reason, or it could be positive. So it ranges from 10 to minus 10 to 10. So you could be having labels here, I don't have them, but you could be having also labels that are not directly process related, but they are related to, for example, that they're escalation or a chaser or, reminder and stuff like that. And for these, you could be like putting like negative quality of service impact, and for some else, you could be like if something is like positive review or something like that, you could be adding like a positive quality of service of tone. And since we got all that, so I have messages with my named entities recognized. I have my labels assigned, so I know what kind of a category it is. I understand if if the person writing to me is either happy or positive or negative with what they wrote to me, then I can do a whole bunch of analytics based on that. So there's a whole another section of this platform here called reporting, well, which is really powerful because since I already have all the volumes of the messages that I have, then I could be also analyzing them from the perspective of knowing what this communication actually is. So from the ground up, I could be telling that, for example, the top volume of my communication is related to a particular process. So here I could be, this is a small data set. Let's maybe switch it to something bigger. So here we get like 50,000 messages. And we could be analyzing, okay, let's see. So the most often thing that the communication is about is actually the delivery location change. So, hey, maybe that's not that good, right? Delivery location change. So our customers oftentimes changing their mind about changing the location of the delivery. So what is going on? How can I go about and fix them and like reduce that communication about delivery location change? Like what's not working here? What's going on, right? Maybe the returns. This is like also always the pain of many companies that are dealing with retails that they want to reduce the returns. So here, when I analyze like all volume of my messages, I can tackle exactly that. So I can be asking myself, okay, return, refund requests, why this many? And what's neat, since we already also log metadata as my sender and CC and all this type of metadata that we usually have when it comes to emails or some tickets, then I could be also analyzing it from the perspective of the people writing to me. So I could go ahead and grab that returns and ask myself, okay, which one which address or domain or organization is that particular the domain or organization that is most often asking me for returns, and I could be addressing precisely that domain or sender because of, sorry, there's this bar, I don't know how to go ahead and grab it. So here, for example, I have like one filter for the organization, which is Parker Corp. And then I have a bunch of different addresses. And then I can see, for example, with the returns, the topic that is 75% and others are 0 is returns. So there's no surprise about that, right? But for example, accounting on Path Corp. Why is the so much 34% is about returns? So maybe this is the issue that I want to be addressing here. So why is my accounting address getting so much emails about the returns? So maybe there's something wrong going on with how I'm routing those messages, etc. Going back to that quality of service and tone, I could be also analyzing this on time scale, right? So I could be seeing the data, for example, when it comes to the topics that the people contact me about, and I could be analyzing, okay, there was a sudden peak with the returns in January 2024, right? Why is that? What happens? Maybe some missed, so wrong Christmas presents, right? People returning a lot of stuff. Some drop with order amendments, so you could be asking questions about that. So here, that quality of service is just a flat line because it's 0. But then if we had something set up, then it could be, we could be analyzing why did quality of service dropped or surged in particular time of the year or month. So what happened? So we could be monitoring that our quality of service to whoever we're dealing with improved or decreased actually. So all type of nice data that you could be dealing with. So we have these two main pillars of this platform. So one is automating based on first name entity recognition and the point that the tool is classifying those emails for us. So here, any type of RPA or maybe other platform automation is possible since this data when it comes to the body is still unstructured, but then we have predictions what this email tells us about or ticket. And then we also have those pieces of data that we care about from a particular message. So any type of automation here scenario is possible. And the second pillar is this analytics. So we already have this huge volume of our messages, but then we can really precisely analyze what they are about because we know what the sender wants from us, and we can actually also be checking them by single particular address or filter by single particular maybe product that we care about. So I could be just, grabbing particular products out of those entities and asking myself questions, okay, is domain address this is interested with this product or maybe not. And on top of that, that tone and quality of service. So if you get like processes that are outside your organization, because normally when it comes to intercompany, then people don't care that much about the tone and quality, but especially with the processes that are outside of the organization. So you might want to be also monitoring this, especially in some kind of a customer services scenarios. You might be wanting to monitoring that sentiment of the message that are delivered to you. And all this can be easily extended to many different inboxes, so I can scale it up. I could be copying these models to many different inboxes. I don't know if that message in Danish has been delivered in here, so we can check that in a second. So let's see if I got any filters. Yeah, that's the one. So here it is. And as you can see, okay, my model here is overly confident because I overtrained it and it's very small. So we have like a very high confidence 99. So this is like too good to be true, just in case you wonder. But generally speaking, as you can see, this is in Danish and it has been correctly recognized as invoice new. So as to prove the point, language independent. It is as long as we're dealing with the same semantics of particular messages or processes. Yeah, and it's 17 and we wanted to leave some time for the Q&A, so I'll stop the presentation right now and yeah, let's move over to Andrzej and any questions that might have arisen.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tomasz. We have two questions, and if anybody have more, please put them in the Q&A. One that I think it's another of the questions that a lot of people are asking themselves, and it's actually something that me and Tomasz have discussed in length just last week with one of our customers. Why use communication mining and connect to Outlook instead of asking the end user to use dedicated service requests or ERP systems?
Yeah, sure. That's a good one. And sure, whenever you can streamline the process first, then go ahead. If you have the power to actually make some kind of a change management, like organizational change, or to streamline this process, then yes, go ahead, please do so. But this is useful when you don't have this type of impact, or you just want to, because overall this can be easily replaced with a structured form, but I would, bring a golden mountain to somebody that can change like large organizations to switch from writing emails or just using some kind of chat messages to be doing this over like a fixed form. If you manage to do that, then yeah, like forget communications mining. Unless you want the analytics part, then yeah, why not go ahead? But if you can manage to change that part of classification and named entity recognition into a structured form, then yeah, go ahead. But first, I would be checking if you have any kind of ticketing systems in your company, then I would be checking, how often do people actually choose the right category, or just they go ahead and choose other for whatever kind of a ticket they have. So ask yourself that question first, if you can actually implement that kind of a change. If yes, then yeah, 100% go for the structured input.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. And we have actually discussed this with a customer that has 49 mailboxes to be automated and like tens of thousands of emails every month. And this is internal communication. So in theory, you would think they would be able to enforce some sort of a structured form as an input, but they did try that and they were able to automate just one category in one geography, and it took them 18 months and horrendous amount of change management. So if they wanted to go this way, I think we had some calculations that said something like 100 years it would take to do this kind of this classical way. So sometimes I completely agree with Tomasz. If you are able to do this in your organization, if you are able to make the users give you data in a structured way, absolutely go for that. Communication mining you need if that's not for any reason possible.
Or just go sabotage your mailbox server and just ask and
That's
build
another way to approach it. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
and
If you are
build
brave enough.
alternative
Yes.
from ground up.
And then one for Wojciech about the savings. As I understand, the calculation is based just about the metrics, time saved and cost. So it's only a potential saving because you don't assign the user to another task that he, she can do in the meantime. I think it's about realization of the savings that you make based on the knowledge from KYP.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good one. Yeah, it very much depends on you what you are going to do with the time that you have just saved, right? Because, for example, if I have Andrzej and Andrzej is spending half of his day just to answer some emails which could be automated, I would be super happy if I could use Andrzej's time somewhere else, because then it will just increase the value that I'm getting, right? It's not just about the time savings, but also about building the value that potentially Andrzej could build for my company. So yeah, it's our decision, right? Because if we just give someone more work, but maybe something else, but still very repetitive, then probably the value is not that huge. But it's really about the potential our employees have, which we very often do not. Well, we underestimate, and we just need some areas, some time that we just build there within our processes where we can use this resource in much better way, not just to save money, but really to build money, build more value, to be more creative, to bring some process improvement ideas, since these people very often know process much better than us, right?
Yeah, and this is something that I have been a continuous improvement manager in 3 different organizations for many, many years. And the matter of monetizing the savings is a big thing, and it is sensitive, right? Thankfully, we work at a time where it's the employees market, not the employers. And so most of the big organizations that we work with, they never have enough people to do all the work that should be done. So it's not a matter of, cutting the FTEs down. It's not like any corporation has, like, most of the corporations do not fire people because they don't have work for them to do. They have it the other way. So they have a lot of open positions that they are unable to fill. And so this way we are saving this time for them to do other things. But it is really important not to waste the improvement that you have made, right? So not to just improve things and keep on doing what you are doing, because this is a real waste. You invest in the people's time to find and eliminate those wastes, you invest in the technology, and then you don't really get a return on investment. So it is important to make sure that whatever you have saved, you have a good discussion about how do you use that saved time to, as Wojtek said, to add value to the company. Okay, we don't have any more questions. So with this, Wojtek, Tomasz, thank you so much for your presentations. Thank you to everyone who have joined us. We will send you the recording of the webinar in probably sometime next week. And until then, thank you so much, and happy automating. Cheers.
Cheers, bye.
Thanks, everybody. See ya.